Hi guys, this is Jochen. Today I will give you some insights and the reasons why I use Fujifilm cameras and lenses for my photography. And even if I'm quite satisfied with the system, I would like to make clear that I'm not being paid by anyone, nor do I want to be understood as a fanboy. By the way, I already made this video in German, but some of you asked for more English videos, so here we go. But now to my 5 reasons why I chose Fujifilm for my photography. Basically, I take pictures with longer breaks for quite a while. My dad gave me my first analog SLR at the age of 13. So that is, with a little hint regarding my age, 31 years ago. And I still have that thing here. It is a Minolta X300 from 1984 and I got it 1988. I had hard times to get reasonable results out of this camera because everything had to be set up manually. Aperture, shutter speed, of course the film selection, etc. And of course there were no websites or YouTube at that time to learn the basics, so I had to do it with books. As a 13-year-old I really enjoyed reading, but not technical literature. And I just wanted to take some pictures. So I tried around, spent a lot of film rolls on holidays, even shot slides, and then by means of try and error got some quite acceptable pictures. The feeling for when to take a film with ISO 100 or 800, how to set the shutter speed properly and with which aperture I get a specific depth of field, I learned it all in these times. In the Fuji system, at least for the big cameras like the X-T3 here, all these settings are again available physically on the body as dials. But even with the smaller models like the X-E3 or the X-T30, there is at least one dial for shutter speed and exposure compensation. And with almost every XF lens you can adjust the aperture on the lens directly. On one hand, I always was used to control everything haptically or physically, but on the other hand, one look at the dials is enough to see what I have set, without looking at the display or the EVF. Nevertheless, you can customize the camera to make the settings still work with the numerous buttons and wheels. For example, if you come from another system to Fuji and you don't want to get used to the dials for now. Overall, I like the operating philosophy in the Fuji system very much. Of course, I also learned to develop black and white films ages ago, and of course you can push your prints into a certain look. But I have always been lazy, or let's say pragmatic, and had my film rolls developed in labs. In the Fuji system, I now have the options of using film simulations and additional user settings to generate a look out of the camera, which makes further editing unnecessary in the best case. In the past, Fuji built up tremendous knowledge regarding analog photography by the production of their own analog films. Consequently, they have translated their analog films into digital simulations. And these are so good that you can enjoy very much what comes directly out of the camera. When using image editing software, I do not want to spend more than 10 minutes per image for editing. Otherwise, I think I already did something wrong while taking the picture. By the way, I use Lumina for my workflow and maybe I will produce a video about it, especially with the new version 4. Just leave a comment if you think that's a good idea. I can only recommend that you set the quality settings in the camera to fine and raw, even if you do not take pictures with a Fujifilm camera. With this set, a closed JPEG with my chosen film simulation will be saved, but additionally I will get the digital negative in RAW format to do the full development process in case of an emergency. When I am shooting portraits, I almost always save my JPEGs with the film simulation across black and white, because I love black and white portraits, and then develop from the RAW in direction of the film simulation. My models get the JPEGs pretty much directly after the shooting to select which images they like most. Then I do my development and retouching on basis of the RAW. But I do this very minimalist in order to achieve natural results. In street photography, I almost always use the JPEGs that come directly out of the camera with the film simulation I chose. Then I maybe do some fine-tuning on the contrast and of course cropping and so on. But I mainly take what comes out of cam. That way you can do the right things the moment you take the picture. By the way, in Fuji cameras you have the possibility to do bracketing with film simulations. Bracketing means taking an image simultaneously in multiple versions, for example with 3 different exposure levels. And this you can do also with the film simulations. So if you do not want to edit the pictures but you are unsure whether you prefer a picture in black and white or, for example, classic chrome or color, you can easily capture the picture in 3 different film simulations and decide later. Simple as that. In short, I love the film simulations. Give me a comment below if you think that I should produce another video with the topic of film simulations. The Japanese word Kaizen means change for better. It is a process of continuous improvement that is used by Japanese companies or those following a Japanese philosophy. Sounds great, but what does that mean? In the case of Fujifilm, as a company they try to listen to the users and put suggestions into action. Occasionally polls take place, for example at fujirumors.com, about which lenses the users would like to see next on the roadmap. And in fact that has happened as desired. For example with this new 16-80 f4 zoom lens, have a look at my review, and the 16mm f2.8. But there is more about Kaizen. Fujifilm not only saves features for new camera models, but also provides functions via firmware updates on older models. An example from the recent past is the eye autofocus in the face detection of the Fuji XT series. Fujifilm delivered the better autofocus of the X-T30 on the X-T3 by firmware shortly after the release of the smaller model. Rumor has it that this will happen again because in the XA7 Fuji improved this feature again. And of course there is the new classic negative film simulation coming with the X Pro 3. So hopefully there soon will be a firmware update for owners of cameras like the X-T3 and X-T30. I rarely have seen a philosophy like Kaizen used so consequently by a company. One more reason for me to stay in the system, because I just do not feel betrayed as a user. Also part of a great user experience are the different camera models offered by Fujifilm. First, of course, the separation of the cheaper XA series for beginners from the other more ambitious X series, the XT, XE, X Pro, XH, etc. The systems differ primarily by the material used, rather favorable processing with plastic at the XA series, more metal or higher quality plastics in the other cameras of the X series. But even with the sensors there are differences in performances, which are reflected in the price. It is noteworthy, however, that the XC and XF lenses are compatible with one another, since both share the X mount. With this you can already choose what is important to you and combine high quality or inexpensive bodies with high quality or cheaper lenses as you prefer it. By the way, if you are on a budget, always prefer spending your money on lenses rather than camera bodies, even if it is seductive. Especially in the higher classes X series there are a lot of camera models and lenses with a significantly different approach. To give you a current example, the X Pro 3 with its hidden display and the processed titanium is aiming at professional documentary or street photographers and is tailored exactly to their needs. Even if this has triggered discussions again, as always, when a company expects a lot from their customers. But even the choice of cameras between rangefinder and SLR style will meet the different needs of the users. For my portrait and city photography, I myself own the X-T3 in the SLR style, and for discrete photography like street, the XE3, a small rangefinder camera. And do not forget the cameras with fixed lenses like the X100F or XF10, which offer a complete solution. In short, in the Fuji system, a camera body can be found for every application and user needs. With the fixed or prime lenses, you have the choice between fast models such as the f.4 versions of the 35, 23 and 16mm, or the f2 or f2.8 variants that have other advantages such as weather sealing, better AF and lower price. So even with the standard focal length you have to make a choice. And if you can't decide, you just have to buy both, like I did with the 35. By the way, experts almost always agree that the Fuji lenses are all above average quality in general. I'm not a pixel peeper, but I am more than happy with all the lenses I own. What do I mean by that? I mean that the Fuji system, purely based on values such as autofocus speed, dynamic range, battery life, etc., is not always in the top spots. Today, however, all camera manufacturers can build great devices that are great for use in all areas of photography. Like I said, I do not want to be understood as a Fuji fanboy. I have previously worked with Sony and was totally happy with it for a couple of years. When the X-T3 came out, it was a reason for me to take a closer look at Fuji. And for me, the whole package of haptics, film simulations, good lenses, Kaizen and everything else just fits best. But you should start your own search for a system that best suits your needs. The tool is not nearly as important as creativity, passion and maybe a good understanding of image composition anyway. Well, in short, those were my 5 reasons why I'm with the Fujifilm system for my photography. Please give me a thumb up if you liked it and hit the subscribe button. This will be very helpful for me. I'm looking forward to it and wish you a good time until the next time. Take care. Ciao.